how far ahead should I script the story and thumbnail the pages before I actually make the pages? So, I know it's probably frustrating how many times I've said this, but this is really an individual thing. It's gonna be something that you figure out what your preference is by doing it. Like, this is someone asking, hey, what gear should I use when riding my bike around? Well, it depends on your neighborhood and also on you, and it's not something that you're gonna be able to figure out by just looking up tutorials online and asking people who ride bikes. You know, part of it is you're just gonna have to sit down and do it, and you're just gonna have to figure out what works for you. I can tell you how it works for me, but that advice might not be applicable to you because you are an entirely different person with an entirely different story and set of circumstances. I'll talk about my methods and what works for me, and you can take that as a baseline, but what works for you is probably going to be different. You'll figure that out by trying and doing and failing and getting back up and experimenting, right? So Cast Off specifically is a story with a lot of mysteries in it and a lot of intrigue. And I like to drop a lot of hints to that mystery well in advance. So I like to script fairly far ahead just so that I know that I can go back and say, oh, I'm planning on having this thing done in chapter 8. So it would be cool if I went back to the script for chapter 4 and added a hint to it way back here. And then that can be a cool way to foreshadow things. I like to drop in a lot of foreshadowing. So I generally like to, at the very least, outline very far in advance. For me, I've always known the skeleton of Cast Off storyline. I have known the bare bones of what happens in the story since before I started the comic. I kind of knew approximately what I wanted to happen. And for the later chapters of the story, that's still what I have. I have a couple of specific scenes. I know approximately what I want to happen, but I don't figure out the nitty-gritty until I actually start scripting. But I like to script pretty far in advance so that I have time and runway to go back and tweak things and edit things. Like, if I did not have a script buffer, chapter 12 would not have been a flashback chapter. I would have had to just like push forward with the original boring version of the story because I'm like, okay, well, I have to start this chapter tomorrow and this is the script I have, so I just have to go. I just have to use this. Meanwhile, if you script far enough ahead, if you change your mind, if you get a better idea and you want to change something and you script far enough ahead that you have the runway to do that, then you can do that. See, what's kind of scary for me right now is that I used to be able to work on scripts during my downtime at my 9-to-5 job. That's how I wrote most of Cast Off. But now I don't work a desk job, and so I don't have specific writing time. And so my script buffer has dangerously dwindled, and now it's like I've barely even started writing for chapter 14. So now I am forcing myself to have time to actually, you know, sit and work on scripts because I have no script buffer anymore, and it's making me horribly nervous because I really like to be further ahead. It's freaking me out because chapter 14 is going to be a really important chapter. Oh, but anyway, I would say more on having a larger script buffer if you can, and if that is something that is important to your style of writing. But if you're writing like a gag-a-day strip, it's less important, right? And then as far as thumbnails, honestly, with thumbnails, I do thumbnails in batches based on scenes, and I don't thumbnail stuff until I'm ready to actually draw the pages. It's why I never really know how many pages a chapter is going to be until I start drawing it. Sometimes I'll break up the script into approximately where I think the page breaks will go, but sometimes that will change during the thumbnailing phase. If you're trying to stick to a specific page count for your comic chapters, this is not a method that I can recommend, but I make a webcomic and my chapters can be however long I want them to be, so I just kind of do what I want. Whenever I start a new scene, I'll thumbnail all the pages of that scene. I only do that scene. I thumbnail like maybe a scene or two ahead, but generally I do thumbnails as I am drawing them. That's what works for me, but what works for you might be different. The important thing is to experiment and figure it out for yourself. You learn by trying and failing and getting back up and trying again slightly differently until you figure out what works.